Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Gibby
What's
Knows
up? What's
Sports
up?
podcast. I'm your host, Big Gibby. I'm joined today by my little brother, Little Gibby. Today we're going to talk about the NFL playoffs. Seth, the field is set. We finally got the bracket. We know what the matchups are. We know the games are going to be played. Before we get into the actual matchup talk, okay, you wanted to cover the history that the Lions just made this past Sunday night with their win over the Rams.
Huge
Uh,
game.
Not the Rams, the Vikings. Sorry.
Vikings. Yep.
Uh, can you talk us through that a little bit? Tell us what kind of history they made.
It's considered the biggest game ever in the regular season in NFL history. The biggest regular season game ever. First time in NFL history that two teams had 14 wins and they faced against each other in the regular season. It's also the first time the Lions ever clinched the number one seed in the NFC. And also next week or in this weekend will be the first time ever that a 14 win team is playing as the guest, the road team in the wild card. First time ever. And it's also the first time the Lions have ever won 15 games ever in their entire franchise history. 15 games, which is incredible. Speaks high
Yeah,
volumes to Dan Campbell and how he's kind of just reset that whole franchise and organization.
yeah. It's hard to believe that the Detroit Lions, who have been
Or premier
a
program at
dumpster fire
0
for
16 at one
for
point.
for the majority of both of our lives, are now seemingly perennial favorites almost every year. To make a deep run in the NFC playoffs. Right now, they even have Super Bowl aspirations. It's a testament to what Dan Campbell and his staff have done with that team and that franchise. Because right now, I mean, they look pretty unbeatable, especially in the NFC. And we're going to talk about the matchups coming up here in a little bit. But there's nobody right now that I would pick against them in the NFC. And
Yep.
they kind of showcased that last
Yep.
Sunday night against the Vikings. The Vikings were supposed to make it a really good
Yep.
game. It was, like you just said, it was one of the most hyped
Blew him
games
out. Blew him out.
I can remember ever in a regular season game, and it really wasn't close. Detroit dominated that game on both sides of the ball for 4 quarters.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was the Lions basically proved everybody that they are the real deal. Like they played really good the last 2 years, but they kind of needed that game to where like, hey, we're officially here, and now they are the Super Bowl favorites, and according to Vegas to win it all, even over the Chiefs. That's how much faith Vegas has put into the Detroit Lions, and it's incredible.
Yep. So let's kind of get into the NFL playoff bracket. All right, we're going to start with the first matchup of the weekend. The games start on Saturday. So at 3:30, we get the Chargers at the
Yep.
Texans. The
Mm-hmm.
Chargers have the better record, but because they're the wild card team, they're going on the road to play
Yeah.
Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of talk us through that matchup, Seth, and kind of give us your predictions on
Well,
who might come out on top.
Jim Harbaugh's obviously done a fantastic job with this. Justin Herbert is playing pretty darn good. You know, the odds of him with all the injuries that the Chargers have had, all the players that kind of went away. Keenan Allen's with the Bears now. There's really no offensive weapons for Justin Herbert. He's just back there being a very elite game manager and having elite plays at moments. And Jim Harbaugh is a culture changer, just like Dan Campbell. He's gonna have his team ready to go. CJ Stroud has been dealing with a hand injury almost the entire season. Now his shoulder's banged up, and you can kind of tell. We watched the game the other night on Christmas when they played the Ravens, and he just doesn't look the same. I wouldn't call it like a sophomore slump because obviously he's not playing terrible, but he's not playing to the standard he played so good his rookie year. I think it's more the Texans just kind of banged up. CJ Stroud's banged up, and obviously he's the heart of the team. If he can't be 100%, Chargers are favored by 3 points. I mean, you kind of lean towards Los Angeles on this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, as far as CJ Stroud is concerned, yeah, I wouldn't call it a sophomore slump. He
Yeah,
definitely, I think he set the bar really high for
really
himself
high.
last
Had an
year.
amazing rookie season.
And they've had problems with the offensive line. Like he's been sacked way too much.
He's banged
Uh,
up. He's banged up because of it.
and he kind of drew a very tough matchup with the Chargers.
Yep.
They've got the number one scoring defense in the NFL. They allowed the fewest points all year, and they're going on the road, and they're a favorite. There's a reason for that, and it's the defense.
Yep.
As well as Justin Herbert's been playing lately, I could very easily see this being like a 24-20 type of game.
A grudge
But very
match. A grudge
very few
match.
teams have scored a lot of points on the Chargers. If you throw out the random Tampa Bay game where they gave up 40 points,
Yeah.
but they haven't been beat like that all year, except for that one time. I feel confident in the Chargers and Harbaugh to get it done and to advance to the next round.
Mm-hmm. I feel the same way. I think the weaknesses of the Texans kind of plays in the hands of the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh is going to play great time management with the clock. He's got Justin Herbert on his side, who's playing really really good. The numbers don't like scream at you, but he's played very good football. He's taking care of the football. He's driving it down the field. If you ever watch one of their games, I mean they'll have 9 to 10 play drives. And they eat up the clock. So they're going to be doing that. That's their whole game plan. That's probably this whole playoff or postseason path is play keep away.
Yeah. All right, so let's go into the second matchup of the weekend, and that's the Saturday night game. That's the Ravens hosting the Steelers. Obviously, this will be the third time these teams have played each other this year, a divisional matchup. The Ravens
back to back, basically almost.
Yeah, they played each other like 3 weeks ago. The Steelers beat them, surprisingly, the first matchup of the season, but then kind of got steamrolled in the most recent matchup. The Steelers are the one team in the playoffs that seemingly have no momentum.
None.
They kind of snuck in because of how well they did play earlier in the year.
They stalled out.
Yeah, but they've lost now, 4 straight games going into the playoffs. That's never a good feeling. And you're playing the number one offense in the league.
Yeah, it's not looking too good. What's kind of propelled the Steelers at the beginning of the year was their defense was so elite, and now it's kind of falling back to the middle of the pack as far as the numbers, and that doesn't work well for the Steelers. They got to play their mentality of football. They got to have really good defense, and then they can run off. They can do the play action and hit you. Russell Wilson can hit you, with a deep ball here and there. But when the defense ain't playing good, and you can put 9 to 10 play drives on them, and then you got them weakened up, it's just not a good philosophy. And the Ravens are clicking on all cylinders. Lamar Jackson might win MVP. He's been brilliant. He's running the ball. He's throwing the ball. Just Baltimore's favored by 9.5 points. You can see why. I mean, you can even see it getting out of hand pretty early. So if there's one matchup this week that we think it's going to be a couple score games, it's most likely going to be this one.
Yeah, getting almost 10 points in a playoff game,
an NFL playoff game is crazy.
Is pretty unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the last time the Steelers played the Ravens, they couldn't stop the run. I think they rushed for over 200-something yards as a team against them last time. So if the Steelers are going to pull off the upset on the road against who many people think is the one team in the AFC that can knock off the Chiefs, they've got to be able to stop the run and control the running game a little bit better than they did last time. If not, like you said, it could get really ugly really fast.
Yeah, it's not looking too good for the Steelers. Sorry, Zachary Dillon. It's not looking too good.
Yeah, we've got some family that are diehard Steeler fans, and they may have their hearts broken in the first round. All right, so moving on to the third matchup, you've got the Broncos, who obviously have surprised a lot of people. Bo Nix leading the charge there with Sean Payton. They've gotten into the playoffs as one of the last wild card team in. But on the flip side of that, you get to face the Bills at home. So, Seth, how do you see this one playing out?
It's hard for me to say it because the Broncos have kind of been my team. A few episodes ago, I was the most surprising team with Bo Nix and Sean Payton. But the Broncos still have a very bright next few years ahead with their quarterback. Sean Payton's really turning around, but it's going to end here. You're going to Bills Mafia. It's going to be cold. Josh Allen is looking out for blood right now because there's a good chance he don't win MVP. And if he don't win MVP, he's, whatever. But he is going to be looking for blood. And there's one person in this playoff that he wants to play, and it ain't Bo Nix. So that's, I mean, we can kind of skip ahead to the future, but I'm telling you right now, there's one person that Josh Allen wants to play, and it ain't Bo Nix. So he's going to make sure that he gets there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Broncos' strength isn't their offense; it's their defense. They've had a really good defense all year, but I just think at the end of the day, Josh Allen's too much. The Bills are too much at
Superman.
home.
He's Superman right now.
They're undefeated at home this year. They're 8-0. So I fully anticipate them taking care of business in this round. I think it'll be close. The Broncos are getting 9 points. I could see this being, a touchdown to a field goal type of game. But I think at the end of the day, Josh Allen will make more plays than Bo Nix does.
Yes.
And you and I both have talked about this before, like off camera. Like if playoff football is anything, it's great quarterback play and great defense. Like those are the two things that propel you forward in the playoffs. And I just think that
the Patriots did it for 20 years.
Yeah, Josh Allen is going to be enough to overcome, the Broncos' pretty good defense.
100%. Josh Allen, I think Bo Nix is going to play good because I think Bo Nix does have a little bit of a clutch gene to him. He's already proven that when playing the Bengals, though they're not. But Josh Allen's going to be too much. Josh Allen is right now playing for rings, and it's part of his legacy and part of his. He's already up, a few years in his career. I wouldn't say time's running out, but your Super Bowl window is cut short in this league, and I think he can feel it. I think the Bills can feel it. So it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's do or die this year, but their goals are, they know what their goals are.
Yeah. Okay, so then the second game on Sunday, we have another NFC matchup. We've got the Packers at Philadelphia playing the Eagles. The Eagles are 4.5-point favorites, and I think they should be.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still worried that because they have not announced yet if Jalen Hurts is playing.
Yeah, that's crazy that he's still in concussion protocol. It must be a lot worse than we thought.
And obviously, he hadn't played the last couple of weeks of the season. If he's not playing, then
they're in trouble.
Yeah, I don't feel good about the Eagles, and we'll see that line come down. Obviously, if we get wind, closer to the game time that he's not going to play. But I'm assuming right now, when we talk about this, that he's going to play. He's going to suit out. Surely, we would know by now for certain if he's not going to play. So I'm assuming right now that he's going to play, and if he does, then this Eagles team is probably the second best team in the NFC.
Yeah. And a lot of people would argue that the Eagles are when Jalen Hurts is playing, the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. A lot of people would argue that. I don't personally think that, but we're just going to assume Jalen Hurts is going to play. I don't see him sitting out this long for concussion, but it's starting to bother me that it is. They have announced that they could be playing mind games. But Jordan Love hasn't been playing very good the last few weeks, especially to close out the season. He was a little banged up. He had the same injury that what's his name? That Bryce Young had earlier in the season with his shoulder joint. So that could be worrisome for them. But basically, the Eagles are kind of just like the Lions, as far as they're gonna play some defense, and then they got a really good offense, and they got a good offensive line. They got Saquon Barkley. They got some guys on the outside with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. They're gonna run at you. They're gonna play action when you stack the box, and then they're gonna hit you overhead. It's a really good balanced team. I mean, I could see them being, a touchdown favorite in this game.
Yeah, the thing that I can't just hop on board with the Packers is I don't know what team's going to show up. They've been kind of up and down all season. They've lost to good teams. They haven't really lost to any bad teams other than obviously last week in the Bears game. But their playoff seeding was kind of already set in stone, so there wasn't much to play for in that situation.
100%. They set some guys out too. So
I'm throwing that game out the window. But it's the second season that we're going to see Jordan Love in the playoffs. Last year, obviously, they upset our Cowboys. And if Jalen Hurts doesn't play, then I could definitely see them pulling off the upset for a second year in a row.
If Jalen Hurts don't play, I'm going to pick the Packers to win. If Jalen Hurts plays, I think they win by a touchdown. Like I'd take the points because they're 4.5-point favorites, but I would take it because I think if Jalen Hurts does play, I think they're clearly at least a touchdown better than the Packers.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the last game Sunday evening. We've got the Commanders at the Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
The Bucs are favored by 3. They're a team that obviously won their division, so they're the home team. But you and I are both pretty high on the Commanders. We both have loved how well Jane Daniels has played.
And Dan Quinn. Dan
this
Quinn's done a
year.
great job.
I think this is one of the potential upsets we could see that I would not be shocked.
Yes, 100%. The Dan Quinn's done a phenomenal job with the Commanders, and Jane Daniels has had a historic rookie season. It's going to be a good game. I mean, they're 11 point. They won 11 games this year or 12 games.
12.
12 games. That's just crazy. Commanders won 12 games, and they're a wild card team. It's going to be tough. Baker Mayfield is super competitive. He is clutch. Mike Evans, we know, is clutch. We've seen him before. It's going to be a good game. I think this is going to be the best matchup of the weekend for sure. It's really a flip a coin for me. I could see either team winning. I don't feel confident leaning which way or the other, but I'm gonna have to give the edge to the Buccaneers. There's a lot of players on that team that still were in the Super Bowl run with Brady, so there's a lot of playoff experience on that side of the ball. Commanders, got a rookie quarterback, but we'll see. I still have faith in Baker, and I have faith in Mike Evans, so we'll see.
See, I'm kind of the opposite. I don't really have much faith in this Buccaneers team.
Okay.
Like the Packers,
Wow.
like I just mentioned, like they've been
Baker?
so up and down.
Is it Baker?
It's not necessarily a Baker issue, but I mean we've seen them lose to teams they shouldn't have lost to.
Clip that, Baker. Clip it.
Like they lost to the Falcons, they lost to the Niners, they lost to the Cowboys playing a backup quarterback.
Hey, we were there. We were there.
Then they hung 51 on the Saints. They hung 40 on the Chargers, but then they got
don't want to catch them on their A game.
Yeah, you don't know.
Don't know.
And
I can see that. I can see the argument.
And they're not, just this great team at home or this great team on the road. They're just kind of average. I think Washington has been the more consistent team. Rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs, you never know what to expect, but I think Cliff Kingsbury, the OC, and Dan Quinn will do a good job of, giving Jane Daniels some things that he likes to do to exploit the Tampa Bay's defense, because their defense is not very good. They've been exploited, especially in the passing game, by many teams this year. So I could see Jane Daniels having a field day through the air, just because he does such a good job of extending plays, and when the plays do get off script, he's quick enough, athletic enough to get out of the pocket.
He's so good.
And make plays on the run.
He's so good.
He is kind of Lamar 2.0. I think he's going to have a bright future as long as he can stay healthy in this league.
As a Cowboys fan, I'm leaning towards the Buccaneers, because if the Commanders do win, they're going to bring all that momentum into next year with a really good quarterback on a rookie deal, which bothers me, because then the Eagles are going to be on the upside, obviously. Commanders are upside. Cowboys are still sitting there like, what are we going to do?
Well, until a team in the NFC East can showcase that they can beat Dak Prescott consistently,
here we go.
Then I'm not going to worry about it. All right, so let's go into the last matchup. Okay, and this one's being played on Monday night, and that's Minnesota, who we just talked about earlier, having to go on the road as a 14-win team to play the Rams. Now, Seth, the Vikings are on the road, but they're only favored by 1.5, which tells us that, okay, Vegas may think that this 14-win team isn't the 14-win team, obviously, that the Lions are. I could see Los Angeles pulling off the win right here at home.
The Rams are one of the hottest teams in the entire NFL right now, and they're finally getting healthy. Matthew Stafford looks healthy. Puka's looking healthy. Cooper Kupp's looking healthy. They're looking really good. And you're giving Sean McVay in the playoffs, man. He's a different beast. They've been there. They've done it. Matthew Stafford is right now, the last few weeks, is playing really, really good. Sam Darnold, obviously, he's had a great year. Didn't have a good game against the Lions. So I don't know if this is really if this is affecting Vegas's odds against the Rams, but it's more, I think, just the Rams and Sean McVay, and you got Matthew Stafford. It's a very bad matchup for the Vikings, and it'd been a bad matchup for the Lions because either way, one team was going to get screwed out of that because they have to be a wild card team on the road, and you got to play against Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. That's hard to do that because Sean McVay is going to scheme up the craziest designs, the craziest routes, the craziest plays. And Matthew Stafford, to me, is still an elite quarterback when he's healthy. It's a tough matchup.
Yeah, to me, the most telling sign in this matchup that the Rams have a chance is the Vikings have lost 3 games all year. They lost to the Lions twice, and they lost to the Rams. So, beating a team twice is hard, especially if you're meeting them for the second time in the playoffs. But, I mean, the Rams can do what hurts the Vikings defensively, and that's run the football with Kyron Williams.
He looks really good.
That's what they had success with against them in the first matchup. We just saw Jahmyr Gibbs run all over that defense Sunday night. That's how you beat teams that pressure a lot. The Vikings are a heavy pressure team. They like disguising their blitzes, disguising their coverages. How do you beat teams like that? You just run the ball right at them.
Run the ball.
And
then you got a quarterback like Matthew Stafford right behind it.
And Sean McVay is a very patient coach. If you want to give him the run and run it 40 times a game, he'll do that. He's not the kind of guy, and Matthew Stafford's not the kind of guy that they feel like they have to light the scoreboard up and throw for 400 yards.
And they can if they want to, too.
Yeah, and with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, I mean, you could argue they're one of the best 1-2 punches in the NFL. They certainly can get into a shootout with you. Both defenses, to me, are kind of suspect. I mean, I think both of them can give up big plays from time to time. I think obviously Minnesota has the more explosive players on defense.
Mm-hmm.
They can create a lot of negative plays, but like we said, they can also give up some chunk plays.
Yeah.
So I would not be shocked if the Rams come out on top, despite being, at home and not being the favorite. I definitely think that the Rams are more than capable of pulling off the upset, if you want to call it that, at home on Monday.
It's definitely difficult because the game against the Lions is almost like a playoff game. It's a huge game. A lot of hype is built into it. And then you lose, and it's like this breath is out of you. Like you feel like the momentum just is all out of you. Now next week you got prepared for a playoff game, an actual playoff game, and you're on the road. When in all reality, everybody in that locker room is expecting to be the home team next week, or expecting to be on a bye. But now you got to go on the road, which is crazy. So that could play a factor into it. We'll see.
Yeah, and I know Sam Darnold's had a heck of a year. Obviously he's played way better than anybody thought. I think when he first signed with Minnesota, people were thinking, he was going to play half the year and then kind of step out of the limelight and let J.J. McCarthy take over. But because he's played so well, he's probably earned himself a new contract. I just, watching him Sunday night, it's prime time. Every eyeball in America is watching the game, and he just was not very good.
Yeah.
Now you can credit, the Lions defense for
Aaron Glenn had a great plan,
but I think also part of it is, Sam Darnold maybe got exposed a little bit, and it's going to be the same exact scenario next Monday night, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're the only game on TV that day.
Yeah.
Every American in the country is going to be watching that game. Sam Darnold, can you step up again in prime time and not lay an egg like you did Sunday night?
He's got a lot of pressure, and as Sam Darnold, like you just said, you hate to say he's feeling it, but in the back of his mind, he's probably feeling it. Like, I got to play good this game because there's money on the line for myself. And a lot of NFL insiders are leaning that the Vikings are going to franchise tag him because his franchise tag would still be a really good deal for him. But obviously, that's just a 1-year deal. Give J.J. McCarthy another year to get fully healthy and then learn under Sam Darnold, because Sam Darnold is a quality veteran quarterback, and it's been proven in the past recently that you get a good quarterback, it's not a bad idea to let him sit and learn, obviously, and then come out and be ready to go. So Vikings might choose that path, but like you said, this could be a game that could be make or breaking for Sam Darnold, because if he goes back to back primetime games and he looks like the old shell of himself, it's gonna be hard to say, hey, well, let's give this guy 30 plus million, if not more.
Yeah. All right, so that kind of that's the end of the first round talk. Obviously once the matchups are played out, we'll kind of react to those as the week goes, and we'll get on and talk about the divisional round next week after all the games are played. But Seth, tell me, look at the wild card teams and tell me which of those 6 teams that you feel like if you had to choose one of those 6 teams has a chance to make it to the Super Bowl. Who do you think has the best chance out of the wild card teams? Somebody that we're not expecting. Obviously, none of those 6 teams are probably the favorites to win. But who has the best chance of getting out of their first round matchup and then making it all the way to the Super Bowl?
It's tough. Wild card teams. For me, the easiest route possible when you look at both sides of bracket would be the Packers, because if the Packers can get past the Eagles, I think they would have. No, wait a minute. So Packers would play the
They would play
Lions.
Detroit.
They play the Lions. Yeah. So it's. I wish the college football playoff would do this. So the Packers 7 seed, obviously the 1 seed would play the lowest seed. It really depends on what the Rams and Vikings. But I still see an NFC team. I feel like the AFC team I feel like that's just a gauntlet. But if I had to pick, going off of that, it'd probably be the Commanders. I hate to say it because I'm a Cowboy fan. Probably be the Commanders, even though they might have to go play against the Lions. But the Commanders, I mean, and when you got a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, and I wouldn't say he's like elite yet, but his running ability sometimes gives NFL defenses a problem. We've seen it before in the past. If you got a quarterback that can run a little bit and can throw a little bit, especially in the playoffs, with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes can run a little bit. It's tough to defend, and you can get some teams in their weaker moments. That it'd be surprising, but I would if I had to pick anybody, it'd be for the NFC, and it'd be the Commanders.
Yeah, see, I think I'm gonna stick with my Chargers pick.
Chargers.
I think they'll beat Houston. And obviously, if Pittsburgh and Denver both lose, then they would be matched up with Kansas City, which to me isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it's a divisional opponent. They know each other very well. It'll be the 3rd time playing each other this year, obviously. But, I think back to that last matchup they had. I mean, the Chiefs won by 2, and they had to come back late in the game. The kicker kicks the ball to win the game with basically no time left. But, the Chiefs had control of that game all the way through the 4th quarter. And then, Patrick Mahomes did what Patrick Mahomes does. But I just think, like, if any team's going to make a run, I could see it being the Chargers just because of their defense.
Yep.
Their defense is good enough to carry them.
Sometimes
Justin Herbert is good enough to make some plays in crunch time, to make some big-time throws, for them to beat and upset some of these higher seeds. I think they match up really well defensively with a team like Buffalo. I mean, obviously we just talked about how talented Josh Allen is, and he's a one-man wrecking crew. But you could argue the one weakness they have is they don't have much else outside of him, and maybe Cook, at the running back position. But the Chargers, I think, would match up very well with them defensively. They would match up well with Baltimore. I think I think they could do a good job of at least hindering Lamar Jackson in the passing game, and then hopefully would be able to withstand, Derrick Henry running right at him.
Yeah.
But
how stacked is the AFC with quarterbacks? With just really good quarterback play. You don't have Joe Burrow in this playoff, but then because if you're off the top of your dome right now, who are the top 5 quarterbacks in this entire playoff? 3 or 4 of them are in the AFC for sure. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think
right now, you're 5.
It's Patrick, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson.
That's 1, 2, 3.
Um, Jalen Hurts, if he's playing.
That's 4.
Then you got Matt Stafford, probably,
That'd be 5. So
or
the top
Herbert.
3
I mean,
are Herbert. Yeah.
you could argue Herbert over Stafford. I mean, I wouldn't be mad with either one of those, but I would say those.
So we're in
Just give,
agreement. 1, 2, 3 has to be Patrick, Josh, and Lamar. Even
yeah.
though Lamar doesn't have the greatest history in the postseason, I mean this dude is elite. I mean, look at the season he's having. He's having the best season he's ever had, and he's won 2 MVPs already. So
Well, I will say this about Lamar: if he doesn't make it at least to the AFC Championship game this
they're gonna
year,
come for him.
then I want to stop hearing about how good he is, because I take all kinds of crap about Dak Prescott, and he took the MVP from Prescott
Dak
last
should have
year.
won it last year.
But I mean, Lamar's in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't play for the Cowboys, so he doesn't get the same amount of criticism. But Lamar hasn't won the big game, so
He's 2-4 in the playoffs.
you
with
can
2
argue
MVPs.
that this is the most talented team, offensively, especially, that he's been a part of. So if they can't get it done this year, then I think more criticism needs to be thrown that way.
And he's got a great team around him. He's got a great coach. He's got an elite running back. He's got a good receiver. He's got one of the best defensive players in all football with Hamilton, Kyle Hamilton. So I mean they are a really good team. So they're going to come from just like Josh Allen. Josh Allen is like he needs to get it. He got to at least get to the AFC Championship game. It's but you run into the gauntlet. You run into the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. That's tough.
Yeah, do we really think anybody's beating the Chiefs though?
I don't think nobody's. I hate to say it because I hate to say it, but it's hard to say they're not going to three-peat. Like why would you bet against Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid? It's just not a smart bet. I don't care who they're playing.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy to think that it's more likely than not that they're about to three-peat.
Yeah,
and
you would like to just say
they
whoever
have not.
wins.
Yeah, they have not been impressive
They're
really at all this
15-1.
year.
15
and you look up and they won 15 games. And everybody talks about their margin of victory being so small, and they're not winning convincingly. But like, I don't give a rat's ass about any of that. Like, did you win? I don't care if you won by 1. I don't care if you won by 50. The NFL is about winning football games, and the Chiefs do it better than anybody. And they especially do it better than anybody in the playoffs that we've seen in the last 4 to 5 years.
Patrick Mahomes is, besides Tom Brady, is the best playoff quarterback of all time. The stats and the record already shows it. Like he is the best one besides Tom Brady. It's not close.
I mean, if he wins a third in a row and a fourth out of 5, I think you have to start having those conversations about
he'll have the LeBron versus MJ conversation.
The GOAT.
let's chill out here. Let's chill out here a little bit. But Patrick Mahomes definitely will be like the kind of, I wouldn't say he would be like LeBron versus MJ, but it would be definitely, people would start having that discussion. I don't think it will change it. Tom Brady will still be the GOAT because it's just incredible what he did in that long of a span. Because football is so tough. 2 years from now, Mahomes could be, falling off and not be nearly as good. It's just football. Football is more about longevity. The way Tom Brady could do it for 20 plus years, do it with a completely different team, do it in 1 year. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So,
yeah, I mean,
but it'd be really cool. I mean, I think the NFL was at its prime peak when Brady and the Patriots were in that era because it brought so much love and it brought so much hate into the NFL, which brings in viewers. It brings in everybody's rooting against the Patriots. When that time, now everyone's rooting against Chiefs, unless you're a Chiefs fan, which is, I think it's great. I think it's great. Everybody needs a good villain.
We talked about this earlier in our, one of our podcasts, but they're the favorite to win, in the AFC. I know you said the Lions are favored right now over them.
They are. Vegas.
I mean,
that's stupid.
Until you dethrone them, like, nobody's the favorite over the Chiefs.
Hey, and how pissed off are you right now if you're Patrick Mahomes and you're left off the Pro Bowl list when you're the you won what, 3 Super Bowls already? You MVP, you're clearly the number one quarterback in the NFL, regardless of the stats this season. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't think anybody would disagree with that or argue with that. And he just left off the Pro Bowl. And Patrick is that kind of guy to where, like, he's gonna hold that personally. Cause just like when they played the Bears a few years ago when the Chiefs blew them out, Patrick, after scoring touchdowns, going like 1, 2, 3. He's counting on his fingers because that's how many draft picks Trubisky was taking over him. Like, he holds that stuff personally because he's a super competitor, which makes him such a good quarterback, just kind of like Brady is. So him being left off the Pro Bowl is definitely going to elevate his play. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he deserved the Pro Bowl this year just because, I mean, if you just look at the numbers of the three guys that were chosen over him.
But you know how it's folded though, right? It's 20% it's 20% fan, and then the rest is split between players and coaches. So players and coaches voted the best quarterback out of the league out. Which, yeah, he don't have the stats, but as Patrick Mahomes, you're definitely going to say, hey, how the hell are you going to put Joe Burrow in there, and they're not even in the playoffs, you know? But he's going to be playing for a Super Bowl anyway, so it don't matter.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think the thing that will alleviate some of that heartache, if he really is that upset, is another Super Bowl ring.
They're playing a Super Bowl. Y'all can argue about the Pro Bowl all you want. What do we know? As long as I get a Super Bowl ring. Because right now he's chasing Brady, so...
Yeah, I mean, this playoff run for him is about legacy, and he can cement his legacy and essentially cash in his ticket to the Hall of Fame right now.
He's a Hall of Fame right now.
If they were to win a third one in a row, like it's locked up.
I saw
it's sealed
up. on one of the sports podcasts, like he's catching the goats, he's catching the greats. It's like he's so far he's caught Peyton Manning. Now next one on the list he's going to go catch Joe Montana because Joe Montana has 4, so he's going after Joe Montana. So if he gets this one, I mean, it's going to be tough to say, hey, who's better? Because like at this point, if he wins 4 and he wins it with a 3-peat, I mean your eyes are on the next one up, which would be Tom Brady, which is insane. Because when Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls, you're like, there's no way in hell somebody's catching up to Tom Brady. But then here comes the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, I mean, there are people that would still argue Joe Montana is better than Tom Brady because he never lost a Super Bowl.
That'd be stupid.
I think the argument's dumb. But Patrick has a chance to get to his 4th, and he hasn't lost either. No. You know, so
with 2 MVPs.
And if there were anybody that has a chance of catching Brady, which I don't know if Patrick's going to get 7. I mean, that would be.
Tom Brady went through 10 Super Bowls.
Yeah,
10 and won 7, which is insane. And I think Tom Brady has like 43 playoff wins, which is insane too. Like insane.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of things to win a Super Bowl, especially to win that many. Obviously, you've got to play a long career. You've got to stay healthy. You've got to have great players around you. You've got to have a staff that gets the best out of each team. Yep. And honestly, you got to have a little bit of luck on your side, you know. And you could argue that if Tom Brady wasn't so unlucky, you know, that the crazy helmet catch, you know, from the Super Bowl he lost to the Giants that year, you know, he could have had another.
He said the other day that's the one play in his whole career he regrets, he hates. He can't even watch the game because that he would have 8, and he might not. You think about momentum and stuff, they might not lose another Super Bowl, you know, for that. So it's crazy.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to do it for our 5th episode. We will get on again after the divisional round.
Yep.
We'll talk a little bit about the semifinals of the college football playoff.
Yep.
So there's a lot that we can talk about. Yep. Probably next Tuesday will be when our next episode drops. Yep. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. Yep.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on TikTok.
We're on Instagram now.
Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Yeah, you can find us everywhere.
Yep.
Everywhere at Gibby Knows Sports Podcast.
We're trying to get 100 subscribers fast as possible. We're trying to get as much as we can on every single platform. So don't forget, like and subscribe. That helps us out. And if you would like to sponsor us in the future to any video, please reach out to me or Caleb. You know, and get in contact with us. So Well, thank y'all for listening and tuning in.
All right. See you guys. Peace out.
See ya. Peace.